Hi there, this is Archive Moon with Star Siren Astrology coming to you in this full moon in Aries. This full moon in Aries is fucking hot and fiery and passionate. It's big, it demands freedom, and it demands to have its desires and its needs met. It wants to go, it wants to get things done, it wants to get things started, and it doesn't want to do it the old way. You know, Aries is the first spark of creation. It's this spark of creation that says, oh my God, I am different. I am me, and I am different than the rest of the collective sea of Pisces. You know, Pisces is the sea that contains the consciousness of all that is, you know, the whole. And Aries is that spark of the individual that says, wait, I am separate from my mother. I am separate from you. I have my own needs, my own desires, and I need to self-realize. I need to discover who I am. I need to do things different. So this full moon is really this huge call to come back home into ourselves, but it is also a relationship initiation. You know, this is the season that is dedicated to relationships, to harmony. You know, it is Libra season, so it is the place where we realize our needs in others, the way that we relate and dance with everything around us. You know, it is dynamic, social, energetic interactions. You know, Libra has that consciousness, that fine-tuned intelligence. And the moon is now opposing the sun in Libra. You know, the moon has come to say, yeah, but what about all of these deep, unmet desires? What about all of these burning like rhythms inside of you, that this pulse, this drum that you were born with, that need to be actualized? What about these voices, these yearnings, these desires? What about those? And how are you honoring them? How are you dancing and in rhythm with your own beat and your own pulse and your own desires, so that you can discover who you are inside of the relationships that you're in, inside of this dance with the other? There are some powerful players here. And by players, I mean initiators, big planets. We have Pluto really strong. We have Uranus coming to oppose Venus. And so this is a really powerful time for relationships with the emphasis of the self. And wherever Aries is, there's this drive and this spark, this volatility that can come, this frustration and anger that can come with stagnant fire or opposed or squared fire. You know, it's like when our direction and our purpose or our passion, our desires, our needs start to get loud and they well up from the deep, dark depths. They well up out from behind the social, you know, containers or the social masks that we wear. You know, inside of Libra, we can get really fixated on the other. We can get really aware of the other's needs and how we affect the other. We can also become so aware of how everyone perceives us, you know, that it sometimes takes us out of us. It takes us out of our own experience, out of actualizing that impulse, that direction, that drive. And if those little compromises are made like too much, you know, if we really become so aware of the other that we step out of our own expression and our own natural rhythm, then our desires get shut down. We get shut down, we get lost. There can either be an imploding or an exploding. The imploding looks like stagnant fire, frustration, or depression. The exploding looks like full-on rage. It looks like rebels fighting back. It looks like blame and sabotage, rejection, you know? And this fire needs to be channeled. You know, it's really fascinating to me. Like, I can always pick out an Aries woman. Like, for whatever reason, when a woman has the sign of Aries, it's like her fire is full on and it's a force that the world has to reckon with, you know? And yet when I see a man with Aries, there are a lot of men that I've met with the sign of Aries, and they are powerful and passionate, but you can't see it. Like, their fire has been shut down. These little boys, they're on the Nintendo games, and it's like they're just stewing and brewing, you know? But their confidence and their ability to really move that fire and that libido and that desire and let it be felt by the other has been suppressed and repressed and constricted. You know, I've really been thinking a lot about it over the last couple of days of just how much our society shuts down our own impulses so much, to the degree where we're telling kids to sit down, shut up, do this, and then we get 9-to-5 jobs, and the adults are doing this and this and this, and we do so much that we don't actually want to do, that people start to engage with each other in a way of obligation, you know? That it then carries out into our social dynamics. It carries out into the way that we engage with our friends and our partners and our families. You know, we engage with them in the way that we think we should. We say yes to so many things. We give our energy in so many different directions because of what we think we need to. And after all, it's only 15 minutes, right? It's only one party. I really want to do poetry at home, or do art, or write a song, or I really want to go and like surf and do dance or do whatever it is that we want to do. But it's like, okay, I guess I'll sit here and talk and to this person, or okay, I guess I'll you know, go out with you the other night, you know, I'll go to this party, or okay. And so society has actually structured it in a way where there's so many compromises and there's so many shutdowns to that wild instinctual part of ourselves, to that healthy part of our fire, that we start to have all these explosions and these implosions that build up over time. They get diseased, we get outbursts, and we get in trouble, you know. So this energy and this fire that is coming available to us is a potent one, but it's in the realms of the moon. It's coming in the realms of actually the waters and the subconscious layers. And so to me, what that means is it's not felt as viscerally as when the sun is in Aries. It's not felt of just like, ooh, I got a lot of energy, ooh, I want to go surfing a lot, or whatever it is. I think it'll be felt in a way where our emotions come with clarity, where our emotions come with more fire, or more instinct, or more passion, you know, where parts of ourselves rise to the surface that we might have not had touch on, you know, that we might not have been connected to. And so now it's starting to come, it's starting to rise up. And so that need for freedom is strong. That need to self-actualize and embody these emotions is strong. And so this is a perfect time to like make art of your emotions, like do something fiery and in your body to process that which is rising up from within you, and do your best to not just immediately project it onto all of your relationships around you, and to blame and to push back and to try to control or to try to break free. You know, we still have that sun and Mercury in Libra asking to be aware of the other, to find a way to harmonize, to find a way to balance. That can only happen by having a really solid, confident, constant pulse on your own fire, and your own needs, and your own will, and your own desires, and how are you giving a container for that fire? How are you channeling those desires? How are you creating that space for your needs to be met, for you to actually emote and embody and transmute, because that fire is so potent. We have the gift of transmutation, you know, but only if it's channeled appropriately, if it's channeled for connection, for the fortification of your own sovereignty and your own being, in balance with your relationships. You know, it's really interesting that Pluto is squaring exactly the sun and this moon during this full moon. You know, Pluto is the god of the underworld, and he's rocking us to the core in Capricorn. He is shaking up the foundations and all that holds our society together. He is really challenging authority and leadership and power, misuse of power, control, domination, all of this, you know. And so how that looks in your personal life is like, find the places where you're misusing power, find the places where you're giving your power away. Don't just freak out and rebel and push away and lash out and separate yourself, and don't just implode and be victimized. Find a way to liberate that fire inside by letting that Plutonian alchemizing, composting that's happening to our systems and our structures of society at large actually bring your awareness to the places inside of your life. How is your work? How is the systems in your family? How is your relationship to your foundations and your structures actually supporting and nourishing that spark, that fire, you know, so that your desires, you know, confidence, your ability to follow and trust yourself to move in that rhythm can have its place in a way that is consistent, so that fire is not just dwindling and shut out, feeling the like Capricorn being a blanket, a wet blanket on that fire of heaviness and obligation and constriction, you know. But allow that fire to really be cultivated inside of your structures, you know, and inside of the relationships. You know, making sure that what you're doing out of obligation is in alignment to that fire. Be authentic, you know. If we're fighting for freedom, we're not free. If we're frustrated and we're swinging from spectrums of codependency to total independence, being single or just being like me and my and pushing, this is my world, you know, this is a fighting of the worlds. This is like my world, and the other is like, no, this is my world. This is my world. Hear me fucking roar. And it's like, ooh, Aries. How can you bring some discipline, you know, some liberated high octave Capricorn to that Aries, to let that warrior really feel those emotions, feel that potency, and fuel it for your own transformation and for your own freedom. If it gets projected onto everything else, if it starts blaming and feeling victimized, all that fire is going to get depleted. Your fire is going to get scattered. And then we waste the gift of what is actually coming to us, you know, which is really easy, because when the full moon happens, she's big. And there's another really potent transit that's happening that brings it home for us in a real way, because wherever Venus is, I feel like really brings it home, you know, because she's what we value. She's our inner feminine of what we want to receive, you know. And Venus is at 6 degrees in Scorpio. She's directly opposing Uranus in Taurus. So when Venus and Uranus are opposing one another, it's this lightning, this liberator. You know, Uranus is there to shake up all that we value. You know, all that we value, our body, our money, our resources. And then now she's opposing Venus, and Venus is in Scorpio. And when Venus is in Scorpio, shit gets real, for me anyways. Shit gets really real, and it gets deep. It's bringing this need to go deep into our relationships, to go deep into our sense of self-worth and our value, and into our relationship to power. You know, and it's saying, meet it. Go there, and we better see it and meet it, and really get down to the nitty-gritty of why are we giving our power away? What are we grasping for? What are we trying to merge with? What do we feel like we need in order to be worthy, in order to be powerful? And that Uranus is there to shake up, to bring change and sudden bolts of inspiration, hopefully liberation, sometimes shock, sometimes trauma, you know. And so if sudden things happen in the realms of your relationships, in the realms of money or whatever you value, it's like let that lightning shine through and shock the foundations. Let it burn away all that you don't need. It's not a comfortable thing sometimes when we're shocked to change, but always is it for this liberation, you know. And I'm just gonna say that Uranus and Venus also doesn't need to be so deep and intense and shocking and traumatizing. It could just mean radical, like, kundalini, and new people are coming into your life to like deeply alchemize and bring some transformation your way. It could be that, you know. So let's hold out for that. Let's hold out for some tantric, deep alchemical experiences of grace, shaken through the foundations of where we cling and we hold on to stories or patterns of unworthiness. This is a beautiful time of let this fire and this lightning of Uranus come through and deepen the desire for connection, the desire for relationship, and to allow our own desires and our own rhythms to be so palpably felt and heard at this time that we can't help but to follow it. We can't help but to start moving in it. This is really a time, I think, and a beautiful invitation to get clear on our worth, to get clear on our energy, and to reclaim it at this time. Yeah, and bring discipline. You know, with Pluto squaring this full moon in Aries, this Aries warrior or fire, Pluto in Capricorn is saying it's time for discipline, for true initiation and power, true warriorship, you know, not just like, I'll work, I'll take it on. And so with that, so many blessings on this full moon. May your relationships find the tantric lightning energy of Uranus to liberate. That Venus in Scorpio, may she help you dive deep in to your alchemical relationships. And in that deep diving, may you find your desires. May you find those places where you lose your power, but may it be graceful so that you can just bring that radical self-love into all of these nitty-gritty places and be graceful with yourself. if you react, if your fire and your brashness, if your deep and taboo desires start to rise up and you don't know what to do with them, be graceful with yourself. Really ultimately find a way to accept and really draw all these parts of you into your center with the dedication and devotion of a warrior, you know, and then use that Aryan fire to slice through any of the illusions, any of the patterns of old paradigm structures of power and misuse of power holding you back. Yeah. May this fiery moon shine a light on all these parts of you in the most illuminating, inspiring, and fire-feeding way. May your fire be fed and fortified. May so much self-love and grace be brought in to these potent places of liberation and transmutation. Yeah, so that the fire is fed instead of just stripped, instead of just blowing up, but just fed and sustained.